the decision maker.
That's right.
And so that's how you knew. Now, while you make sure that the other person is involved in the conversation,
Absolutely.
that's the person you're going to talk to, because it doesn't matter what the other one thinks. They're getting the water.
That will cost you $10 each. That's a secret.
It's huge, and you go, those become the things that you have to learn in order to be, and it's paying attention to small details like that to help you try to get to that next level. So.
Excellent, thank you very much. Any other thing you were going to say, Brad?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Alejandro had a really great point in terms of who's the decision maker, right? So most times I'm dealing with one person, right? I'm selling a job to this one person who's going to take the job. And I remember being on the phone at 10:30 at night talking to a guy who was telling me that my sister was telling me that I need to take this. Like, you need to find out what is motivating them, who is motivating the people that you're dealing with. Because if you don't understand who influences your decision, you will not be able to influence your decision. I read a really great book called The You Perspective, right? And it was more or less about a person who was saying, I have this guy who's like, I'm selling a car, right? I want to buy a car, excuse me, and I want a really like hybrid green car. And the guy's like, all right, I'll find you all the hybrid green cars. And the person didn't understand why he wanted a green car. And it's actually his family who just found out that this tree burned down and they're polluting the ozone. Like, you have to really understand what's behind that decision, because his family needs to bring his family to the car dealership and then try to buy the car. And so that's one very huge, I think, key issue or key point that you want to be able to do. And then also just be open and honest with yourself, right? To understand other people, you have to understand yourself, and you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to make the decision, okay, maybe I don't know this, or maybe I'm not as aware as I should be on this particular object or subject, and you need to go and you need to get better, and you need to open your mind up. Because a lot of times I always felt, maybe as a minority, that people just didn't understand me. And so I just kind of put on this facade that, okay, I'll just kind of play it to their level and keep it that way, until I was open with myself and honest with myself. And I said, well, maybe I don't really understand that particular piece. And instead of trying to run away from the issue, maybe I should face the issue. And so when I learned to do that, I think it had broadened my perspective a lot better, and it helped me, not walk away from something and feel angry about something, or feel bitter, or feel cheated. And again, that affected myself, right? Because if I wasn't approaching somebody with that in my back of my mind, I was able to really sell that person on whatever I'm trying to sell them on.
And we're lucky to have this panel here saying these things. Let me go to the last question, which is, most of us, or all, are Hispanic, and we should take advantage of our bilingual skills, of our ethnicity, our cultural knowledge of other people. And this country, as it has grown from a few million to 50 or whatever million we are now, is a very powerful market with $1 trillion purchasing power. What will be, do you think, Esther, the professions where Hispanics could benefit the most? Anybody can do anything anywhere, but why not to take advantage in your favor of something else? Where do you think sales will help Hispanics?
I think that there are three aspects that I like myself, and I was sharing this with Manuel earlier. He actually was talking to me about this, but anything that has to do with service. As you know, we are the fastest growing community, and with that comes a lot of lack of knowledge, lack of exposure, and being in the service business and understanding the person's needs and being able to provide that is good. So what kind of services? Well, as you know, in the urban area, they're great at multi-services. They even have check cashiers place. I mean, you don't see that anywhere but in an urban area. Or money transfer. Why? Because most people that come want to send money back home. So these businesses are very good, and for a salesperson that's bilingual. Consumer products. One of the most product that I see in my office, I don't know how, but they change this almost every month. I don't even, and they change the number. So understanding that dynamic, and that's very important, that you figure out a way how you, not giving them information about their phones, their iPads, their computers sending back home. That's a great service, a great consumer product to be in. But you know which one I like the best? Is education. In my agency, it's not about insurance. It's really about helping the community, hand-holding, like Alejandro shared with us, right? He said that that person went through a trauma or a big chaos in his family, and who did he go to? His Allstate agent. Now, I do not sell Allstate, but it's not about Allstate, it was about Alejandro. Alejandro connected with him in a personal way that he went through such a difficult time and spent the whole day with him. So servicing and caring and educating and information is so powerful. And that's a business in its own. The how-to, it's so broad. You can teach anybody, well, I can do a class on how to navigate through the computer, how to make a Facebook. Do you know that most Latinos that have Facebook, and I'm talking about first generation, don't even know they have an email because it was their friend or their cousin or that local service that did their Facebook for them? So when they go to businesses like me and I say to them, well, what's your email? He's like, I don't have an email. Well, you have Facebook. Yeah, but it was my niece that did it. So they don't know that there's an email attached to it. Even teaching how to use an email, the how-to, it's a great service because you're bilingual, you know technology, you can bring it to the next level. So I would say those three aspects.
Let's jog our memories and our intellects. Consumer products. I have placed people at Kellogg's, Cadbury, Schweppes, and many Pepsi, Avon, many other companies. When you need to sell to a group, and that group has similarities, the best person to understand them and how to sell them is one who has the same culture or speaks the same language.
Absolutely.
And you all know the big mistakes of the advertising era when the Chevy Nova doesn't work in Mexico, or flying cueros or flying leather, Brandy Fair lines. You know, in the same way that it's critical to understand, to speak the language, understand the culture is too. I have an example of Cadbury Schweppes where they had the Clamato juice and they were trying to expand the market share of the Clamato among the white population, and it would have cost them $200 million to raise it a little bit, but they decided to go for the Hispanic market, and with a few million, 15, they multiplied the sales by 3 because it was easier, less competition and all of these things. So there are areas, consumer products, every product that you buy, furniture and clothing and shoes and beverages and food, you can tackle, you can direct your focus to the Hispanic market, but also in financial, you know, I place people in the high net worth individuals insurance industry dealing with Latin America. You don't pretend that a Chilean millionaire Argentinian will need to learn English to speak with a salesperson here.
Yeah.
You send a bilingual executive to Argentina who sells $3 million worth of life insurance, and the same thing with private banking, with mortgages, with credit cards, with a million other things. So there are professions where obviously Hispanics buy that having a sales representative who speaks the language is a great advantage. Mm-hmm. Can you think of other areas?
I would say every area. And I learned this. I actually took 2 years of Latin in high school and then 2 years of Spanish and another couple in college. And I was never immersed in a culture where I had to speak the language every day. But I will tell you, one of the roles that I held at Cintas, or held a few years ago at Cintas, really focused on the hospitality market. If you think about the big hospitality markets, they're all the major markets, the Caribbean, heavy. I was traveling to Puerto Rico, and just the ability to participate in a conversation and to understand what people were saying was an enormous benefit to me with having this much ability to truly communicate. So to be bilingual, I think it is going to be an awesome advantage for you. Because, you know, if you look at my company, we're in 400 markets across North America. So that ability to understand the culture and to communicate may not mean everything in Columbia, Missouri, but I'll tell you what, it means a lot on South Beach, and it means a lot in San Antonio, Texas, and in Los Angeles, and in New York City, and Chicago. So a great bilingual sales representative has a very bright future.
Alejandro, do you have other industries where you think will be important?
Insurance. In Chicago. Because I know the time-wise, and I don't mean to, does anybody maybe have a question? If some of you...
No, we have 15 more minutes.
Oh, we do have 15? Ah, qué bueno, discúlpame entonces. You do need to take... We don't make stuff anymore in the U.S. What we do is we sell stuff in the U.S. All of you have a captive market that not everybody can act in. All of you have an ability to communicate with an immigrant differently than somebody that doesn't speak their language. All of you, and that's the power that you have at your disposal if you choose to take advantage of the opportunity. Financially, the financial opportunity is a great one. It is a lot of hard work, but it really is any kind of a sale. Every organization is looking for someone to help them find a better way to get at that ultimate customer that's going to be there. You just need to find the industry that you like. That, I would say, is more important than saying, what are the sales is the business.
Right.
You need to find, what do you enjoy doing, and now you need to go find the company that does that, and you're going to do fantastically.
And now is your turn. What questions would you have for either of the panel members or all of them? They can answer.
I think for Esther, right?
Yes.
You were talking about like how do you sell a product to the present and like their future? Like how do you? I think that was sort of like your challenge, right?
Right.
And I mean, I guess how did you, or how are you trying to overcome that challenge?
So I was born and raised here, and so I thought I was Puerto Rican for real, right? And they told me I'm not. So I still insist I am. So I had to learn. My office has a diverse clientele, which means I have people from Costa Rica, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Venezuela, Argentina, Paraguay, everywhere. So first of all, they all think I am one of them, and I always say yes. I am from Costa Rica or Colombia, whatever. So I'm multicultural. I had to learn the way the countries, how it's different cultures within the country. So it's not about just knowing Spanish, it's understanding the culture. So I'll give you my perspective as an outsider, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. As there's three cultures within any Latino country. There's the city people, educated, more fast. Then there's the people by the shore, what do they call, costa. They're like laid back, and you know everything's a party, everything's fun, it's fabulous. And then there's the countrymen, and those are the ones that are in charge. The countrymen, it's kind of mainly the man is he decides. In the city and by the costa, they're more. It's a 50-50. So I had to figure that one out. I said, okay, when am I going to be the boss and the woman's going to like it? And when I'm going to be I'm here to serve you, and the woman's going to like it. Because really the woman determines. And so I got to go a little bit more detail. Machismo is not taught by men, it's taught by women. So understanding that it's the women that pushes that, you got to get her in alignment as a woman. Not for Alejandro, he probably has a different experience. But as a woman in business, I had to figure out, well, when am I going to be, I'm in charge, and when I'm going to be submissive? To her. It wasn't to him. See, See, because men are visual, and so if I fix myself well, I kind of got his attention. But for the woman, I didn't have that advantage because she was dictating, her body language dictated him. And so I had to figure out, well, how to do that. The other thing is that as Latinos, many of them are not future thinkers when they first come. It takes up to a third generation to figure that one out. So I didn't know that. So I'm thinking, you know, you bought your car, you spent $10,000, let's insure it, let's make sure that it's covered, and if anything happens to you and your family and your car, and they're like, I don't care, I want the cheapest, I need to pay $100 a month. And I'm like, but $100 doesn't cover if your car's gonna get stolen. So I had to go backwards. I had to figure out how to sell to them. And so I started saying, well, how long did it take you to save that money? I can imagine how many hours. He said, I see, mija. I worked, 2 jobs, and then my husband was working part-time in the evenings, and we put this money together, and then I got him. Then I said, okay, bingo. I got the pain. Remember? Pain and pleasure. Those are the 2 things you got to talk about. So he found the pain. I said, remember those hours? Well, for $100, it's not going to cover that. But for $110, for $10 more, they will give you $10,000. Now here's problem number 2, trust. Latino people from our countries, we don't know what trust is. We've been defrauded. Our government has failed us. Our husbands have beaten us. So now, I'm just general speaking. So you know what I'm saying? It's how do you, so no, I swear, I promise you in La Virgen that they're going to pay if something happens. So you got to go through all that. You have to go through all those challenges. So taking the dynamics and understanding, don't think future, find the pain, find the solution, and teach them how it works, how they connect. That took me, I swear, I have a little mechon right here, of gray hair. Because I didn't know, I was like, what's going on here? My community was mainly Black and Puerto Rican 3rd generations. And now all of a sudden it was diverse. I didn't even understand when people would say to me, oh, vengo a cancelar el seguro. And I said, okay, here, sign this form. And she's looking at me like, what are you doing? And I said, you want to cancel the policy, sign the form. And she's like, no, I'm coming to pay the balance. But she didn't tell me. After 4 times, I was like, but senora, you said that you want to cancel. She's like, no, here, I want to pay you. All of that language barrier. So it's not about just speaking Spanish. It's also about learning the culture and finding those things that they care about. Family is important. They're here to support their families back home. You got to feel that. You got to talk about how they came. And my guys talk about soccer. I mean, they get into, they argue. They actually